If you're standing super close to the thing you're drawing, the proportions get all distorted. The pencil measuring technique does not work. So I kind of forced you to sit 6 feet away, but I didn't like tell you about it. So let's see here, man. Everyone out there, we should be staring at a blank piece of paper. We're all going to be drawing the same thing. I'm going to be kind of talking out loud, or I guess thinking out loud. And the cup, man, definitely taking it up a notch in difficulty from a simple cylinder. You know, at first glance, it might appear like it's basically a cylinder. There's a little bit more going on than what you might think. So, now is the time that I am definitely giving out points for people who know stuff, or, you know, even people who can read. You just have your notes out and you can read. You can get yourself some points. And you already had some practice with this yesterday. Is there anyone out there that can tell me what is the ratio going on here? It's always going to be the first step. Width to height. How many times does the width stack vertically? Anybody brave enough to tell me what they think the ratio is? Rowan.
1 to 2.
Nice, dude. Such bravery. Let's go. Yes, we are working with a 1 to 2 ratio. I'll be honest. I'm a pictures guy. I'm not a math guy. I don't know if it's 1 to 2 or 2 to 1. I don't really get caught up in like the order here, okay? I just know. The width goes into the height 2 times. All right, that's all we really need to know. So, now that I have this knowledge, I have the object in front of me, what am I drawing first? Anyone out there want to tell me what is the first step here? Mackenzie. Not tick marks quite yet. That's like the second step. What's the first thing we're drawing? Dirt. We just did that. We just did the width compared to the height. That was the measuring. Now I'm talking about picking up the pencil. Jaden. Base ellipse. You are correct. Now, before I draw the entire ellipse, I will just draw a horizontal line. Okay? Because the ellipse takes a few minutes to draw. But if we draw it way too big or way too small, it's a big waste of time. So I like to draw the horizontal line first. And then a couple tick marks. And now at this step, I'm going to test out that 2 to 1 ratio. Okay? Capture the width. Turn it up vertically. There's 1. There's 2. And at this stage right here, we want to make sure our drawing is going to fit on the page. We want it to be a nice, happy medium. Sometimes if we try to take up the entire piece of paper, it's too difficult. Our pencil might not be big enough for the whole piece of paper. And conversely, if we make a super teeny tiny cup, that's also not good. So somewhere in the middle. Now I'm going to be going on back down to this ellipse here. asking myself, where's halfway? There it is. That, to me, looks like it's about halfway. Always going to be double checking with the pencil measuring. Make slight little corrections if you need to. Now, what some people do is just make the ellipse from here. But remember, our top ellipse is always going to be much skinnier than the base. So if we start off with a really skinny base ellipse, we're kind of screwing ourselves over for later, because then we got to try and make that top one even smaller. So I always add a little bit of height to this vertical center line here. Tick mark on the top of that and at the bottom. And then double check with the pencil. Feeling pretty good about my structure, and now I'm going to freehand this oval-ish looking shape. Some people try and just whoosh, do it all in one go. You can maybe start doing stuff like that after hours and hours and hours of still life practice, but you know, right now, still very far away from that. I find success by just going one little section at a time until I get something that's looking pretty symmetrical. So once again, do not try to just for the grade, big part of the grade over the next couple of weeks in here is, can you produce a symmetrical ellipse? All right, if you can't even do that, there's no point to drawing any other part of the thing. It's gonna look wonky, it's not gonna have visual weight, it's not gonna be believable. You need to be able to produce a symmetrical ellipse. What's next? Got the base ellipse, everything's nice and even. Alyssa. Yes. A nice vertical line. I'm gonna have us try drawing a new different way here. Pick it up like this. Lock the wrist and just pull from the shoulder. And you just kind of pull that line several times. Pull it several times and then kind of clean it up with the eraser a little bit. You can have a pretty nice result. You know, that's how this is how I would drew all my straight lines when I was in high school. If I tried holding my pencil, you know, the quote-unquote normal way for my straight line, everything ended up crooked. So I'll kind of be out here like at this off angle sideways. I try to go for these tall vertical lines and everything was ending up crooked. So if you're out there and your lines are a little crooked, maybe try holding it this way. Pulling from the shoulder. Holding the pencil in a variety of different ways, that is just another creative problem-solving technique. That's like everything we're talking about right now is creative problem-solving techniques. Okay. Now this is when the cup gets different from the cylinder. So everything we're about to go over right now is totally brand new. If you take a look at the cup here, we can see the top ellipse is a bit wider than the bottom ellipse. One of the clues that tells us that is the sidewalls. Look at the sidewalls. They are slightly diagonal. Now what we need to try and figure out is how much wider is it? Now what we just spent a ton of time with is the base ellipse, and the overall proportions of the whole freaking thing is based on that base ellipse. So when you're staring at the object and you're like, what should I measure? You always kind of find yourself coming back to that base ellipse. So I measure the base ellipse and then see how many times that goes across the top. Show you guys what I mean over here. Capture this measurement with the pencil just like this, how we've been doing. And then bring it on up here. See how many times it goes across that top ellipse. Rowan. Yes, you are exactly correct. Now, this is where it gets really tricky, is it's like, all right, how the heck am I supposed to draw that? Like, having the knowledge is only half the battle. We got to figure out a nice way of kind of plotting it in. So, I feel like the way I explained it in first block was way too many words, and I lost a lot of people. So I'm going to try and use slightly less words here. At this point, I'm doing guess and check. Okay, I'm coming back down to the base ellipse. I know it's a bit wider. I don't know how much wider. You know, is it this much wider? Is it only a teeny tiny little bit? Let's see. So what I do right here is add a little bit of length to the left side. Whatever I do to the left side, I also need to do to the right side. So let's just start off with 1 inch. Okay? And once again, I'm not getting out the ruler. I'm just kind of estimating. It looks like about 1 inch. Over here. Got about another inch over here. And let's see if that's going to give us, you know, the right ratio. Now, we cannot capture this whole thing right now. What we need to do is capture half of it. So this is where I'm going to be copying and pasting some stuff. So everyone with me right now? Got the index and thumb lined up with the center line. Got the end of the pencil lined up with that new tick mark we established. Copy, paste. Bring that on up here. Same thing on the left side, and same thing on the other side here. I said left because this is when I use my left hand, actually. So you guys out there, you should all be using your left hand right now. With my left hand, the thumb and the index, the center line, and then the pencil on that new tick mark on this side, copy, paste. I don't know if it's perfect or not, but I do know, hey, I just established a top ellipse that's still symmetrical and a little bit wider than the bottom. So now I can try and draw a nice straight horizontal line. This is another time I want to bring up a mistake and how to fix it. A lot of people out there, our horizontal lines are looking a little too curvy. A little bit like that. And that's because, look at my wrist. My wrist is firmly planted and I'm just drawing with my wrist muscles and maybe finger muscles. Okay? Now, with establishing a center line, I need to have my whole wrist is locked from the shoulder, and I'm gliding my hand across. That's how we get a straight line versus a curved line. Gotta let that wrist glide. Don't keep it planted like that. Anyway, now that I have my new width going on up here, let's check this ratio, 1 to 1.5. I'm gonna come down here, capture the measurement of my base ellipse. Bring it up here. Boom. There's one. Slide on over to that tick mark. Right on the edge of the page, that's 2. So I feel like somewhere around here is probably going to be 1.5. So I need to just add a little bit more length on either side. And then whatever you do to the left side, you do to the right side. And I don't know. The way I draw sometimes drives people insane because they're like, dude, there's lines, there's tick marks all over the place. So if you're looking at your drawing, you're like, man, I got too many tick marks going on. I need to get rid of these. You know, you can get rid of this one. And you can get rid of the ones that we just measured from because we know those are wrong. So we added just a little bit more length. Let's go for it again. Capture the bottom ellipse. Bring that up here to the right. Boom, here's one. Slide that over. Boom, there's 2. So I would say right here, that is the halfway point. That's like right in between the 1 and the 2 there. Not an exact science, but hey, we basically figured it out. And now, with these tick marks here, we just want to make sure they're a little bit shorter than the bottom. And there we have our top ellipse. Now, people think they're done after this step. And what they do is they'll just draw a diagonal line coming down from the side. This is telling me you're not really looking at that cup close enough. Look at this. We have a third ellipse going on here. Look at the side walls of the cup. At the very top, they're perfectly vertical, straight up and down. Then underneath that third ellipse, that's when the diagonal starts to happen. So if your drawing from yesterday looks like this, that means you were not studying the cup nearly close enough. You really are going to feel like, man, am I insane? Am I a crazy person? No, you're just doing life drawing. Okay? Because they just spend so much time looking, staring. All right? So, last little bit here, and then we're done with the cup, bro. We need to figure out what is the distance from here to here. Keep in mind, this line right here, it's not the center line of an ellipse. We wouldn't be able to see the center line of an ellipse inside the cup. It's actually going to be the very bottom of that third ellipse, because look, it's on a slight curve. And this is so easy for me to tell someone who understands structural drawing, someone who doesn't, because a lot of people hand in cup drawings and this line is just a flat horizontal line. Just gets oversimplified. Like, oh, there's a line right there, and they just draw it flat across. Okay? So, question for the group. Look at what we've drawn so far. Think about a creative problem-solving way to try and find this measurement here. What's the distance from the rim down to that third ellipse there? There are a few different ways of doing it. There's multiple different ways of doing it. What are you thinking, Olivia? Like the height of it? You could. That's one way of doing it. Now, the thing is, we free-handed the top ellipse, so there's going to be a wide variety of heights going on here. So that is one way that you can eventually get there, but maybe not the most accurate. Is anyone thinking of any other ways? Rowan.
Measure like the length of the bottom ellipse.
Bring it on back to the bottom ellipse. And you're saying like this length here?
Yeah.
And compare that to this?
Yeah.
Okay. That is one way we could do that. Let's see what ends up happening with that. So I'll capture the horizontal length of that bottom ellipse. Turn it up. See what that's like compared. It seems to be about like half. Is that what you got?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'll show you guys what I think about with this one. That I think helps get me to the right answer. I'll actually capture the height of this area right here and compare that to the top ellipse. Because they're right next to each other. And we just figured out the width of the top ellipse. So I'll show you what I'm talking about here. I'll capture this height right here. So go ahead and do that at your spot. Yep. And then turn it sideways, bring it on over here. See how many times that fits across the top ellipse there. And I'm getting about 3. So it's pretty teeny tiny. It's kind of like the end of the pencil there. Turn it sideways. Just kind of wiggle the pencil up and down, make an imaginary tick mark. And for me, it goes into this about 3 times. So I'm looking at this top ellipse, and I'm just gonna make like 2 tick marks to split the top. Oh my gosh. Zoom? Who cares? Gonna just split this top ellipse into thirds. But I mean, hey, there are a few different ways to do this, and I'll be honest, this is like my 100th time drawing this cup. I did not use this method the very first time I drew it, you know. Just kind of trying out different measurements, seeing what can get kind of close. So at this point, I'll just double check with my pencil and be like, you know, is that split into thirds? 1, 2, 3. Yeah, it's basically split into thirds. So now I'm going to copy and paste this measurement right here. Here is a third of the top ellipse. Let's all capture this measurement. Turn it upside down. Bring it across to the middle. Make a tick mark right here. And now these ellipses are so close together, they're pretty much going to be the same height. So I'll capture the height of this ellipse, copy and paste that right here, cut that in half, copy and paste half the width, copy and paste half the width. You know, since we worked really hard to figure out what this top ellipse looks like, no need to freehand the third ellipse. You can just copy and paste different measurements from up here. Because they're so close together, they're pretty much going to be the same. Same height, same width, same everything. Now in between these two, There's a line that's pretty much straight up and down. You know, if you want to get super duper crazy technical, there's actually 2 ellipses at that top opening. There's like a little rim that kind of leaks over the edge like that. And then right underneath this third ellipse here, the diagonal line starts just a little bit inside of the corner there. Another way you can double check this is you can measure this height, see how many times it goes into the entire height of the object. So I'm constantly like double checking stuff. So I'll measure this, see how many times it goes into the entire height of the object. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. See if that's true when I measure it with my eyes. I'm gonna use a Sharpie. You guys should not use the Sharpie, but I'll just use a Sharpie to kind of define what the lines are that I'm looking at now. The whole thing about structural drawing is you want, like, you know it's successful when it's unmistakably that object that's right in front of you. And that's the difference between, hey, these are the cups that are in Mr. Smith's art class versus, oh, that's just a generic cup. Anyone can draw a generic cup. But you do need some structural drawing skills to draw this literal cup that is right in front of our faces.